And knowing that this is a license area, this is not a license area, these are the things. That's why we continue to give them a lot of training. So that is also working. The other important point is also to use technology. You will not believe this. For 8 years, before we assume office, no excavator was ever registered with the DVLA in Ghana. 6.5 billion Ghana cedi.
And none of those excavators
was registered.
I see.
At DVLA. We've started a new regulatory regime with excavator registration. And within the shortest period when we started, within 2 months roughly, 1,200 excavators were seized at the port.
Which also means that this government does not know where those 2024 excavators are at this time.
We have begun a program to basically track all the excavators, not at the port. That's two phases. We are dealing with the ones that are coming in, but we're also creating a program to deal with those in the system.
And when you find those in the system, what next?
So what we are doing is that now, before you even import excavator, you have to prove what you are bringing the excavator for, so that the Minister of Transport, Lands and Finance under Customs will determine. If you say you are coming for road construction, the Minister of Roads will give us a letter to show that, oh, this company has been doing a contract in Kumasi to do this road. He needs this. If you say you are coming to do quarry, the reason why the port excavators got full and we needed to move it was that it was so full that we had to move it to the Bema camp and Michelle camp. And you can't move it in the daytime, so we move it in the night. You heard a story about excavators being moved. That's the reason. And a lot of them are there. Why are they there? People who are supposed to come and tell us that they are coming, they imported excavator for legitimate purposes, are not coming forth. And we are determined to make sure that before we release any excavator, you can tell us the purpose of it. That's what DVLA is doing, registering. But the Minerals Commission has created a robust control room. So far, we've put almost 1,000 excavators in that system. We are tracking it. We'll put a tracker on it. So if you tell us that excavator is going to Takwa, that excavator will be tracked to Takwa. And you tell us that you are going to mine in this area, we will now know the perimeter of the area you are mining and geofence that excavator within that perimeter. If it gets out of that perimeter, it will be demobilized. And so we are working on that. We think that technology as part of this effort is very critical. But we are not there yet. What we have begun within these 9 months is very encouraging, and we must continue. I will invite you to the control room to see a 24-hour monitoring and tracking system
of these
excavators. We are now creating a program where DVLA, working with the Minerals Commission, are moving from each mine and each small-scale mining to track and geofence.
Right, so that's on the front end, the proactive measure.
Yes.
Now, I was asking about the
Yes, I'm coming there. I'm coming there. So these are very, very, very critical. I think it's very important that I lay the foundation. We have to also reform the laws, and I think I've talked a lot about all of that also. But more importantly, when you ask the question about law enforcement, you saw what we did with the LI 2462. We thought that what was so important in it was to basically take out the president's power to authorize mining. But it was obviously the demand that this is not enough, that should go. And it's understandable. And as a listening government, I can tell you that the Attorney General, working with us closely, have prepared a new LI 2504 will be completely
2501
sorry. 01 will be repealed when Parliament.
So 2501 will completely repeal 2462.
Completely.
I see.
I mean, the 2462 was amended. You understand? And the argument was that that's not enough. And so what will happen is that we will completely get rid of that law. And the good news is that, you know, before all of these laws came, we had the guidelines that helped the EPA to work, to monitor mining in forest reserve. Remember, there was no mining in forest reserve. 3 companies were giving leases, and then they needed guidelines to ensure that was done. What really opened the floodgate was 2462. We are getting rid of it.
Okay.
That to me is very important. But to your question you asked, I think that we've gotten to this point where we must be very aggressive and accept that, yes, mining is very important for this economy. And I think we say all of this to also underscore that mining is critical. We can't do without it. But all this government is saying, all the president is saying is that we must get to the place where every Ghanaian understand that if we want to mine, you must mine responsibly and sustainably. That is not negotiable. And that is what we are working towards. And so we are saying that nobody gives licenses for anybody to go into a river body to mine. It's illegal. So, you know, if you go across Ankobra and the Pra, people are doing illegal mining left, right, and they are taking water out and pumping poison in it. What we are saying is that this past approach of bringing the soldiers, driving them out, and then when they leave, they come back, it's over. We have begun the process of training. You asked me in the last 2 weeks, what have you done? When we did the announcement,
yes,
we needed to properly train the troops. The initial 400 has completely been trained. The recce's have been done. The regions and the critical zones have been identified, and we are now beginning the process of the logistics. Yesterday, to deploy them. Yesterday, we got delivery of a lot of vehicles that they need, motorbikes that they need, all of these places. To basically permit, we have just secured, thanks to the effort, the support of the Ministry of Finance, some tents that will be used. And so we believe that we are going to deploy them permanently. And I think those processes are on course. This is the commitment of this government in this fight against illegal mining. But as I said, this ministry is more of a coordinating ministry when it comes to the fight against illegal mining. Every Ghanaian is involved. Every ministry agency is part of it. For example, the Ministry of Local Government is in charge of working closely with the MMDCs. We are working closely with them and trying to create KPIs for the DCs and MCs and getting chiefs who are also critical. And I think that I'm one of the people that revere our chiefs. But we are getting to the place where we have to make sure that our revered institution of chieftaincy is protected in a way that if you are a chief and you break the laws and you add to the problems I've described, frankly, you are not supposed to be hailed as a chief. We are getting to that place.
What does that place look like?
That place means that anybody who engages in it, you know, we've been pampering too many people in this system. I'm talking about a crisis that is going to kill all of us. So I'm saying, it doesn't matter who you are. I was telling the soldiers recently, listen, go and do your job. The only big man in Ghana is the President of the Republic. And he has given you the full authority with the political will to go and fight, make sure that people who are doing the right things are protected, but people who are determined to destroy us are made to pay the price. It's clear and simple.
And that should include the chiefs?
It includes the chief, it should include any political actor, period. Anybody. There can be no big man when it comes to this fight against illegal mining. We must arrest them, shame everybody, anywhere.
Let's run it back a few steps, right? When you say that soon you will deploy the security people in these now classified security zones, in your estimation, when will that be?
Oh, it's already happening. I mean, we already have a team right now in the Ankobra area. What they are doing is that they are the preparatory team working on the logistics there. I talked about tents. There has to be some clearing, you know, in some of those areas to set up the system. So they are doing all of that. But we see, we as this is going on, we can't start the deployment. So we'll see other teams. We've already, the National Anti-Galamsey have identified 7 regions for the start. in these 7 regions, and I've identified critical, notorious areas that we must attack first to make sure. Remember when I was talking to you earlier, I talked about 9 forest reserves that were completely red, which means that thugs have taken it over. We couldn't even enter. The forestry guards couldn't go there. Thanks to the effort of the security forces, all of that has been reclaimed.
Right.
And now what we need to do is to keep it and hold it and send a message clearly to these armed groups who continue to try to make incursions that we are not going away this time.
Right.
We are here. And so those critical places, we are going to be making sure that it's not like the soldiers and the security forces will come and leave. You face them there. So
these deployments that you make are only going to the 9 areas that have been taken back from the illegal miners.
I said,
so where are the areas?
I said we have trained the first 400 troops that we are deploying. We have places in the country right now. And when I was talking about the example of the forest reserve, we have 288 forest reserves. Some of them are in green zone. We don't have too much problems with them right now. But we have places that are potential red zones.
Okay.
Even though we've reclaimed them, people continue to try to make incursions. I'm saying that when we are beginning the deployment, those are the targeted areas, the trouble spots. We want to begin with those places. Ultimately, we are going to basically occupy everywhere in the country.
So, I mean, give me some names, right? The areas that you expect to deploy them soon. Which riverbanks are we?
Well, there's a lot of them. For example, I know Ankobra is one. I know Pra is one. I know Bia is one. I know the Ashanti Shelter Belt was one. And a lot of them. But maybe for security reasons, I should also leave it.
Right.
But what I'm saying is that I think that the message is very, very clear. We are not going to leave places for people to have field day. The government is going to put its money where its mouth is. We are going to put money where it matters. Yesterday, we did a ceremony where we procured over 24 Land Cruisers for all these agencies to begin to act. And I think that all I'm saying is that if you combine all the things we are doing in the 5 pillars areas, and I've not talked about one of the critical pillars, we are also under no illusion that these efforts alone can solve the problem. Listen, we have 3 million Ghanaians who are engaged in this trade in now almost 10 regions. There's a legal regime that allows people to mine responsibly and sustainably. Exactly what can we do to strengthen the legal regime and to make sure that the regulatory institutions are holding people who are mining with licenses responsible, with penalties to stay on their toes, and you know that your license will be revoked if you fail. We are strengthening that regulatory regime. We are changing our laws. I mean, how is it that I'll be sitting in my village and all of a sudden somebody in Accra who has no clue where Jomoro is, we issue a license for a guy to come to my village to come and just tore my cocoa farm down because the mineral underground is a right he has been given. It is fundamentally wrong. We're changing that. What we are saying is that with the new provisions, before we even consider a license in Accra, you must begin that license process at the district level, where that community, the chiefs, the DC, the key stakeholders there, will walk with you to the area you claim you want, will assess it, and now we'll give you a recommendation that, oh, this is a rocky area, there's no water body. We think that there will be benefit. In fact, in the process, we will also discuss with you what is in for us as a community. And that recommendation will guide those in Accra in issuing the licenses. That is the only way that we can also hold the chiefs responsible. Don't tell us that we are sitting here and then they are bringing a license. You gave the recommendation.
So this is a bottom-up approach.
It's a bottom-up approach. It's also empowering the people at the bottom. it's also strengthening them. More importantly, one of the critical things that I'm excited about, and I say that this one size doesn't fit all in terms of the solution for illegal mining, is that we know that people will continue to mine. How do you give a small-scale mining, which is a 25 kilometer square? The guy has struggled to come to Minkong, Accra, the licenses, they've delayed it. And then once he gets one license and he has a capacity, he finished, he doesn't have an opportunity to even go to a medium scale. He now has to come for another small scale. Is it a possibility that people who we've given small scale mining licenses, who have acted well, who have reclaimed the land, who have done the right thing, are rewarded with medium scale licenses and possibly large scale licenses? We are also moving in the large scale mining area. We think that after 100 years of mining, Ghana has come far enough. We are the bus of the bus. We came to the middle. Now we can drive. Go to any large scale mining company, you won't see any white man there. It's Ghanaians who are in the forefront of this industry. And so if I've given you 30-year lease and it's done, and Ghanaians have the capacity to do it, what makes me think that I should give the license to some foreigner again? I should find the Ghanaian with the capacity to give that license. And that's the policy of President Mahama. He's saying that going forward, large-scale mining sector must look at Ghanaians who have the capacity to also empower them. You know what that would mean?
After a certain period of time.
Yes. Well, okay. What that would mean is that we are moving Ghanaians to hold the commanding heights of the mining sector. This is something that has been talked about for a long time. Okay. When we do that, and we move Ghanaians from small scale to medium scale and guide them to do the right things, responsibly sustainable mining, I'm sure nobody will be talking about illegal mining.
Is this also in the amendments to 7?
It's also part of the program. Now, one of the things that we've done that is working is that, you know, the large-scale mining companies, there's always a tension between them and the community where they are operating. You know, in the account balance, if you've eaten and I've not eaten, our faces will not be the same. Exactly how can we work together? For example, there's one example in my own area. A mining company had mined in a place. They've left this area, a pit. For like 10 years, they've not gone there. There's no plan that they will go there because the gold there at their level it's not too much. But it is a valuable place for the people who are using their hand and small-scale people. But for a long time, when they try to go there, the soldiers are there protecting and they are running and they are arresting them. All we had to do was sit down, talk to them that, listen, you want to have your peace of mind, the people who give you the social licenses is the community. So we have so far been able to work with large-scale mining companies who have given up a lot of the places for the community. And what we are doing is that, and the argument I made was simple. You know, every university has a primary school. The university's interest is to nurture them and bring them up to do the right things, to end up being the university and become graduates. Your job as a large-scale mining company is also to be interested in how people in this community will learn how to mine responsibly and sustainably using all the standards you have. Transfer those standards, show them the safety methods to be sure, how they can reclaim the land, how they can protect water bodies. These models that, and I'm very pleased that Damus, Newmont, even Goldfields and others have embraced it. So
how many of such agreements exist?
So far we have about 10 of them, but we will have more, I believe. This is the new way forward. And so this is when the president said we are resetting the country in my corner in the mining sector. These are the real practical things we are doing to change the system. And so when I say that we are going to win this fight, I don't say that because of the soldiers. I say that because, if you ask me honestly, are we where we want to be? No. But the progress we've made in 9 months, are we proud of it? I bet we are.
I see.
Yes.
But what does a win or success look like?
So this is what a win looks like. What a win looks like is that all our pristine forest reserve will turn green. That will be driving along the country, and all our degraded lands that when we see, oh Jesus, will all be reclaimed and planted, and there will be, greens will be coming up again. That our water bodies will be turning blue. That will be driving along and will be seeing the water again. The Ghana Water Company will not be talking about shutdowns. That will be seeing young men and women in communities well organized in cooperative mining, mining responsibly. That Ghanaians will be in the forefront of the mining industry, leading the way and making sure that these final resources that we've been blessed with is not going to be a curse but a blessing. Right.
Seeing where you want to get to and your progress so far, what are the benchmarks and timelines associated with this journey?
I've already laid some of them. For example, I'm reforming the mining sector by laws, by the way they work there, by making sure that the systems there are changed, the licensing process are changed. By next year, 2026, all of that will be completed.
Okay.
We are embarking on winning the heart and soul of every Ghanaian, a critical pillar. I believe, yesterday, I had a chief and his entourage drive all the way from Achim. I wish I can mention his name. And they came with their message. He says, Minister, I've been listening to you, I've been following you. We are convinced that what you are doing, we have to support you. This is the heart and soul of every Ghanaian one. Can you imagine that a chief decides in his town that, guys, all of you come. From now on, I'm leading the champion. If you engage in illegal mining, you are gone. If you are a chief, you are my sub-chief, because we are going to engage in cooperative mining. I'm bringing, the minister is getting as a team, the large-scale mining company are coming to train all of you. We are going to make sure that when we are doing mining, we'll be given a license to do it well.
So you have the buy-in?
I'm beginning to have the buy-in.
You are beginning to have the buy-in?
I'm beginning to have the buy-in.
Okay.
In the meantime, we have the stick there. So there are some recalcitrant people who think that they can take the law in their hands. We must also be hitting them so hard they won't think about it again.
What do you say to people who say that the permanent deployment to these security zones is because we do not have the resources to do that?
We do not have the resources?
The resources, we don't have the money to be able to...
deploy permanently?
To these now classified security
We shouldn't zones. Be spending the money to do that. That's why I'm saying that these are all stopgap measures.
So money isn't a problem for the fight against galamsey?
Oh, money is a real problem.
Okay.
Trust me. I've been telling the world, I've been corporate Ghana to come. For example, the whole Ghana budget cannot help reclaim 7,500 football fields. The last time I was checking, that's probably $10 billion. It's impossible.
That's how expensive it is.
That's correct. Do you know how much it will cost us to even, treat some of these water bodies that we are damaging? That is why the critical priorities is to make sure that every Ghanaian who is engaged in destroying and polluting our water understands that this is really criminal.
How much have we had to spend so far on the fight against galamsey?
Oh, I can't estimate it. It's a lot of money. But, if you look at the hole we are in, and the struggle we are having, we would rather have our money educating so much of our young people than intentionally destroying our forest that has been kept. Do you know what the forest means? The forest is where 80% of the water systems come. The forest is the reason we have life. And so when people decide to basically destroy our forests, think about it. It's like they have taken a knife to basically kill you. And I think that when all of us understand, I also want to concede, Some of our people don't even understand that these are very serious consequences for this.
Which people? Just to clarify for the people.
Well, so, I mean, trust me, I think it would be dangerous to, identify and label people who are. But I know that we have to continue sensitization and education. That's the point I'm making. Sensitization, education, and empowering people with information is critical. When people are empowered with information, God has created us such a way. One of the days when I saw the first video, I was sitting there and I became emotional. I mean, people have talked about it. But you have to be emotional if you are a human being. Unless you are not a human being. That's how God has created us. God has created us to love nature.
You mentioned earlier how the fight against Galamsey will be no respecter of status in society or anybody at all. During your presentation with the CSOs, you had mentioned that corruption was one of the stumbling blocks that the fight against Galamsey was facing. Who are the corrupt politicians you are having to face off with?
Well, I think that it is very well known that this canker that is eating us up as a country is being festering because people who have a lot of money, people who are well connected, are always trying to use the system, including politicians. But this is the difference. I've said that the difference between the last 8 years and now is because, listen, I am the Minister for Lands and Natural Resources. That have been appointed by President Mahama. And I'm telling you, it is criminal. And I'm telling the Attorney General, and I'm telling everybody, because that's what the President keep telling me. Go and do the work, and don't be afraid of anybody. I'm translating that message to everybody in the chain, that the stakes for our country's survival is not going to be compromised by anybody. So this is the political will that is driving this effort. And I'm saying that we are committed to it. We are committed to it across every barrier. And that is what gives me and the people who are working for us confidence. You must show leadership. You must show commitment. We must show the political will to fight this illegal mining. And as far as I'm concerned, we have that political will in the leadership that is being provided by President John Mahama.
Are there people in this government who are making your work difficult?
There have been allegations made, but I'm very happy that we were very swift in undertaking investigations. When allegations are made, you have to make sure that they are investigated. That's why, for example, if allegations are made against, say, Wontome, you don't just go there. You take your time. You investigate. It took almost 5 months to investigate, for example, the findings on Akunta, for example. And so those allegations are made across board. And every time we find allegations, we will report it. And we will make sure they investigate. It doesn't matter who you are.
What has happened with the allegations that were made against the Awoin MP, who's a member of your party?
I believe that is a matter that is under investigation. I think where I sit, we do our job and I let others to do their job. I've said, for example, the Ministry of Interior has a lot of role to play working with us in the prosecution and investigation. I said the Attorney General and the judiciary. I am very excited about the Attorney General's effort, working closely. For example, the Attorney General brought a new bill to Cabinet, a new tribunal bill. That tribunal bill is heading straight to Parliament. And as part of that tribunal bill, it gives the flexibility for the Attorney General working with the Chief Justice to come up with strategic courts that are relevant to the issues of the day. And so, for example, I am very sure that when it's passed, a tribunal dedicated to prosecuting illegal mining is easily going to be established. That is very fundamental, because we don't want that to be mixed up in that long chain. We must be swift. We must be clear that people who are engaged in that are being punished, so that we don't have the record that we had before, where out of the so many people, only 4% were basically prosecuted. We want to have a different number. But I can tell you, I think that all these institutions, I talk about my collaboration with the Ministry of Transport and DVLA and excavators. We are going to continue with that. We just identified, I just had a meeting with the National Petroleum Authority. We are going to come out with something else there. We are going to find out everything that we have to do to stop this. For example, there are people who are sending empty drums to fuel stations to buy fuel. Where are they taking them to? They are taking them to go and do illegal mining. So we have identified it. And the MPAs, who is the regulator there, is soon going to come up with a program that says that you want to buy fuel? Okay, what's your license? Your documentation.
Right.
And we will track that and make sure that we track it all the way to the sponsors. I have seen, for example, when you go to Takwa and other places, all sorts of galamsey and illegal activities and things are being sold. Where are they getting the licenses to sell them? We are working with the Ministry of Trade and Industry in that. So there's a lot of things that must be done if we are genuinely committed to this fight. You can look at the Ministry of Environment and say that, Honorable Bois, how's the fight? Everybody is collectively responsible. And I think we are going to make sure we identify every institution. We've been talking a lot about water.
I mean, but
Ghana Water Commission, Water Resource Commission. That's their role. We're going to be working with them to help us with...
I mean, so clearly, a lot of efforts are ongoing.
In fact, so many efforts. I think what has been the gap has been that we must continue to keep the people of Ghana along.
Absolutely. And I'll pick you up on that again. But let's go back to the issue of investigations, right? Because you're right. The CSOs did petition IOCO when it came to the corrupt officials who had been accused of being involved in galamsey. Now, what appears to be the lack of progress on these cases seems to put a wet blanket on the effort. So how do you then reassure the Ghanaian people that, look, these people have been accused, we're looking into it, it's slow, but we are still doing the job that we should do?
I think President Mills of blessed memory said it right. The wheel of justice, it moves slowly, but it gets to its destination by all means. When people are accused, you have to make sure that you are methodical in finding out the truth, so that the wrong people are not accused wrongly. That is so fundamental to our constitution.
But have you had any progress reports on that?
The investigation
petition
is ongoing, and I've been told that they are still. In fact, the Attorney General and IOCO are on top of all these matters, and I have confidence in what they are doing and their professionalism.
What do you say to people who will tell you that because the accusations against members of the NDC, you are not swift in looking into that? That is the impression it creates.
This is the difference. When did it ever happen? In the first year of any government. It's not anybody who brought those allegations. It's the NDC. And it was announced by the NDC. So why would we do that in the first place? Because we are very interested in making sure we keep our word. You see, the people of Ghana have given us a mandate with a trust. And we don't take that for granted. And that trust is that we must continue to keep our word. The reason why the president, someone has to say, enough, go repeal that, is because he knows that the people of Ghana has given us our trust. And that trust is to make sure that we are very honest with them when we say we are going to do things.
I see.
And we are going to do that.
Indeed. And the NDC was very, very, unhappy while in a position about how the then NPP government had run, events in this country, particularly to do with the Frimpong Manso report. Have you looked at it? Have you taken action since you took office?
We have. That's the reason, for example, why we have undertaken the huge review of the small-scale mining licenses. That's the reason why we are undertaking a review of the large-scale mining licenses. Because one of the things that was said was that, it was only people who were politically connected that were being given licenses. And the record is very clear.
Right.
That's one of the reasons why we are not rushing to give mining leases in Forest Reserve. I have not given one as a minister, because those are important.
Why have you not gone after some of the names that were mentioned in that report?
Do you know whether they are under investigation?
You can tell me now. Are they under investigation?
A lot of investigations are going on. And let me tell you, the Attorney General, I'm not the Attorney General, I'm not the investigative authority, but I know there's so much investigation going on. And some of the allegations that are made must be tested by real ground investigation. And I have confidence in the integrity and commitment of the Attorney General and the team there.
So you're telling the Ghanaian people today that you're looking into the Professor Frimpong Manso report and are investigating the names that popped up?
This government is committed to making sure that everything that was done wrong.
That's not the same thing.
But I have to say it, because it's not only the Frimpong Manso report. We have a lot of allegation in the oral report that has been said. I'm just simply saying we are committed to making sure that these investigation authorities, we are coming, very soon you will be hearing a lot from the Minister of Finance, and I'm sure you jump in your chair and collapse. There's so much going on.
I see. Let's look at the water, because one of the things we learned from that engagement with the CSOs is that it's not about how brown the water is, really the poisonous metals or chemicals in it.
Yes.
What's the plan to ensure that really those chemicals do not even make their way in the country? What's the solution to that problem?
It's a very daunting problem. That is why I'm shouting the height of my voice to make sure we don't pollute and damage these rivers with these pollutants in the first place, because it is really very dangerous and difficult to treat. Having said that, we are where we are, and I am very happy about the steps being taken by the Environmental Protection Agency, working with the Ghana Resource Commission to identify technologies and a lot of things to do. We are also working, some of the initiatives that I talked about earlier. One of them was the Blue Water Initiative.
Right.
That Blue Water Initiative is in about three parts. One is working with the Water Resource Commission and experts to identify the technology that will help us to deal and treat. I'm trying not to use chemicalization before some lecturers come and say they're politically wrong.
Yeah.
But how do we deal with these chemicals? Is a critical piece of it. There's a lot of experiment that has been done. We brought people who have done some work on it, but it also translates into a lot of money. Very expensive. I must be very frank. We also have some low-hanging fruit when it comes to these areas. That's one of the reasons why we have established what we call the Blue Water Guards. Now, when we initiated it, people were like, these Blue Water Guards are one of the best things that has happened to this country.
Really?
To think about it, 1,000 young people who have been trained in the spirit of the young pioneer. They believe that in that small community along that river body where they've been recruited, they are the guys who have been given the charge to talk to their colleagues, young people in the town, to educate them that, listen guys, we can't pollute the water. It is our life. They are doing that so superbly. And because of that, so many of their colleagues now believe that it is dangerous to pollute water. They are also championing as first responders and intelligence officers, informing security agencies that people are here with Shamfar machines.
Which areas have you recorded that success?
A lot of the regions are where they've gone. In Savannah, in Western North and Western region. I think you have to see some of the exciting videos of the Blue Water Guard. I think I'll let them stop and you see the work they are doing. So they are not only acting as champions in educating people in the riverine communities, they are intelligent officers, and they are also coordinators working with the NIMOS and security officers. And they occasionally also stand in some of the places to prevent some of this destruction and pollution.
Indeed, speaking of successes in some communities, we learned from that engagement with the CSOs that places like Jemai and Atronso, the communities themselves are fighting illegal miners, but are also threatened and intimidated by these armed illegal miners. What is government support for such communities to protect them so that such successes could be recorded in other areas?
Yes, that's exactly, for example, why we are now deploying people to be in such communities.
Okay.
In such communities, you must have the assurance that the security forces are next door to you. Don't be afraid. I've said that the only thing that excites me is to visit a town, and the community themselves are the ones leading the effort. Anytime you go to a town and the chief and their people are saying, go, we are doing Agalam, say, you are in trouble. That community there is the community you have to focus on working on. Because this whole thing starts with the heart and minds of our people to understand the dangers of illegal mining. We are saying that you want to mine, President Mahama says yes, but let's show you the right way of doing it, responsibly and sustainably, to make sure we don't destroy our forests, our water bodies, and our environment.
I see. Now, one of the things the CSOs asked for was regular updates.
Yes.
What is the ministry doing about that to give the Ghanaian people regular updates?
I have assured them that we will give them regularly. In fact, that's why I'm sitting here with you. And I will be inviting you to my office to come anytime so we can talk about the progress we are making. I think it's important. It is important to keep them along and engage them. I think the meeting we had the other day was very constructive, because a lot of the CSOs are genuinely concerned about our country and the state of our water bodies and our forests. And I think that when a government sees it that way, if you saw the reception that was given, even to the extent the president says, please continue to put us on the fire on us. Even though when he said I was sitting, our president, take it easy. I think it's important. Because what the president was saying is that I understand what you are doing is very important. We also want the same thing.
The president at that engagement said that he was going to confer with the National Security Council when some of the CSOs pressed on for a state of emergency. What has happened since then?
Well, this is, I think the president has been so open. This is what he said.
Yeah.
That was even before he moved another step to order us to deploy permanently. He says that we still have a lot of the tools to fight this illegal mining. At any time when it becomes necessary to press a button, he will. He just pressed a very important button, that deploy. So what the president is saying is that, listen, we've not gotten to that point. Because you know why? Declaring an emergency in, say, Western region. Because 5% of that population have decided to engage in illegality. Now, all of a sudden, so many people are in trouble. What will be the economic consequences? So he's saying, for example, that, listen, I'm deploying all the troops at my disposal, but I'm not also ruling out state of emergency. But so I think that the president is very clear.
Okay, so then that meeting with the national...
That has not been ruled out.
No, the conferring with the National Security Council
that has not been ruled out.
Yet.
What he said was that that has not been ruled out.
Okay.
And that he's continuing engagement and assessing and engaging and taking the advice of the National Security Council. That's what he said.
Okay. So the bottom-up approach, working with the MMDAs in these communities, the request from the CSOs was that give them KPIs. Have you drawn up KPIs for them? What do they look like?
I'm working with the ministers of local government chieftaincy on a lot of those. And so we are engaged in that process.
Okay. What would your KPIs look like?
It's simple. There should be no galamsey in your district.
Okay.
There should be no galamsey, period. We should see very blue waters and green forests in your district. We should see sustainable mining practices in your district.
If you are not able to do this, what would you think would have been the most important obstacle that stopped you from achieving your success?
God willing, we will be victorious. I am very definite. I'm so confident. I wake up so fired up every morning. You know, I feel like this is probably a job that I have been given, that I have to do it. I owe it. I owe it to my God and this country that we win this fight.
Very well. All the best.
Yes.
We've just been talking to the Lands and Natural Resources Minister, Emmanuel Amakufibua. He's been detailing some of the questions that you may have. This is Hot Issues. If you missed it, there's a playback on YouTube and all our social media handles. I'm Keminni Amanor. Bye-bye.